We out here. You done know, eh? It's a OVO thing, eh? You done know, eh?
Alright, y'all, it's OVO Westbrook here, man. Check it out. So, the NBA offseason, obviously, it's been pretty eventful, right? So, like, it's not over yet, but pretty much the big names are out of the way. I mean, the only real big name that we don't really know what's going to happen with is Melo. But, hey, bump it. Like, so, this YouTuber, his name is Mike Corazimba. We're going to check out his video. It's called The 7 Biggest Winners of the 2017 NBA Offseason. Now, I mean, I like the videos he makes. So, I mean, we're going to check it out and see what he got to say.
What's up, guys? Mike here, and today we are looking at the 7 biggest winners in the 2017 offseason. Yes, we're only looking at the winners of this offseason and not the losers because we're in a positive space here. And I also didn't want to hear the fans of the losers whine. So with that said, last thing, if I already covered a trade or a big free agent move in one of my other videos, I may have left that team off this list because we just have a ton to talk about. So enough of this guy, let's just jump into the video. Number 7, the fans of the New York Knicks. New York basketball fans have not had a lot to celebrate in the last 30 or so years. So when the Knicks hired Phil Jackson,
the Knicks can't never get it right,
won 11 championships as a head coach, Knicks fans were right to feel optimistic. Unfortunately, the NBA has changed a lot since the days of Jordan and Pippen and Kobe and Shaq, and it's obvious now that Phil Jackson just could not keep up. Or what's worse, he chose not to keep up. He made the Knicks play the triangle, he hired a yes man as his head coach, and he tried to force Carmelo Anthony out of New York. And let's focus on the whole Carmelo Anthony thing for a second. That is not how you treat the star of your franchise. That is not how you handle a man who has been the face of the New York Knicks for the last 7 years. If you want someone like Melo to leave, you talk to him in private. You don't go behind his back to the media and tell them you think Melo would be better off somewhere else. You don't
Especially when he got a no trade clause.
Refused to waive a no trade clause that the Knicks gave him. When you do something like that to your star player, you are basically telling other NBA stars, hey, don't sign here because if you do and things don't work out, we're gonna throw you under the bus. Melo didn't deserve that. Say what you want about the guy, but he's always been extremely loyal to New York. But with what I just said about Melo, what I brought up about Phil Jackson in general, even though it's obvious Phil was wrong in those situations, Knicks fans continued to defend him. The reason they defended him was that he brought them Kristaps Porzingis. But somehow, Phil even managed to screw that up. This offseason, he made it clear that if the price was right, the Knicks were open to trading Porzingis. Now, I get the argument
what kind
that
of
for
price
the right
do you have
price,
on Porzingis?
almost everyone should be available, but Kristaps Porzingis is a legitimate NBA unicorn. He's 7'3". He averaged 18 points a game at the age of 21, and he did this while making almost 2 threes a game. He has the potential to be the best player on an NBA championship roster. When you have a player like that, you should make it clear time and time again that he is untouchable, because in the NBA, loyalty matters. When it comes time to sign players to long-term deals, they remember how they were treated. Just look at what just happened with the Utah Jazz and Gordon Hayward. Kristaps has a lot more potential than Gordon Hayward ever did. The Knicks should want him to be in New York for his entire playing career, which is why Knicks fans should thank their lucky stars that James Dolan finally pulled the trigger and got rid of Phil.
Got rid of him, not fired him.
Gordon Hayward. I feel way more comfortable saying that Gordon Hayward was a winner this offseason rather than the Boston Celtics. Because who really knows what's going to happen with Boston? Right now, Jason Tatum looks good, but maybe Markelle Fultz is going to be an MVP one day. Marcus Morris might work out, but the Celtics now have a lot of small forward / power forward guys on their roster, and I know they're probably not going to be able to afford Avery Bradley in the future, but maybe they're going to really miss his defensive intensity this year. And after seeing what the Thunder had to trade to get Paul George, maybe the Celtics will regret not pulling the trigger and trading for him. I mean, if Boston had Paul George, they would have a real chance to beat the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. right? So, regardless
You
of
gotta
all
give
that,
up
what we do
Oladipo
know is that the
and
Eastern Conference has somehow
Sabonis.
managed to get even worse this offseason. This
For
summer,
Paul
the West
George.
added all-star wings such as
I'd
Jimmy
do that
Butler
any
and
day.
Paul George to go
Any
along
day.
with the already loaded cast they have in players such as Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Klay Thompson, James Harden. You get the point. Those 6 guys alone are probably going to be all-stars next year. It would have been very tough for Gordon Hayward to crack that list. Moving to the East, though, means that Gordon Hayward is probably going to be an all-star for the foreseeable future. He is also probably going to be playing
So
deep
he's
into
saying
the
Gordon
NBA
Hayward's a winner,
playoffs
not
for
even the
foreseeable
Celtics. It's just
future on
Gordon
one of
Hayward.
the NBA's most marketable rosters. With his move
But
to
the
the
Celtics
Boston
are- the Celtics are winners
Gordon
too.
Hayward is going to increase his
Because
national
Jason Tatum looking
profile
nice.
tremendously. He's going
Even
to
though it's
get
just a
more
summer league.
sponsorship deals. He's
He's
going
looking
to
real
be
nice
a
right
more
now.
relevant NBA
Ooh.
star. All of this matters. So I have to say, Gordon Hayward made the best decision he possibly could have. Number 5. The Phoenix Suns. With the 4th pick this year, the Phoenix Suns took Josh Jackson. The one player I thought headed into this draft was the perfect fit for their roster. And so, just looking at the Phoenix Suns in general, I think they're
Marquise
in a
Chris,
very good place right
Tyler
now.
Ulis.
They have a potential future star guard in Devin Booker, someone who is
Devin Booker.
capable of putting up 25 points
They
a
do
game
kinda
as
got
soon as
a young
next
squad.
season. They have 2 young, promising big man prospects
Like, if they
in
keep
Josh
getting better.
Bender and Marquise Chris. They've got a solid young scoring wing in TJ Warren. They have a nice potential young piece in Tyler
Yeah,
Ulis.
they need-
And if
they
down
need
the
something
road
better
the
than
Suns
TJ
are looking
Warren.
to make
TJ Warren's good, but
more assets, they have a proven
they gotta get
almost
something better than that.
all-star level guard in Eric Bledsoe. So again, when looking at this
And
roster
Eric Bledsoe,
and
they
this
gotta-
franchise in general, Josh Jackson
gotta
is
move
the
him.
perfect fit. He provides a level of defensive intensity that the rest of Phoenix wings
might
have
sound
not
weird,
seen
but
in
they really
recent
do gotta
years.
move Bledsoe
He has the athleticism
eventually.
and potential to grow into an all-star level 2 guard or small forward. The only major flaw
they're
he
not-
has
like,
is
by the
his
time he's
jump
old-
shot,
I mean, by
and
the
if he's
time they're
able to
actually
fix
real good,
that,
he gonna be
Josh
too old.
Jackson has the chance to be the best player in his draft class. At the very least, Phoenix got a man who was ranked as the number 3 prospect at the number 4 pick, and again, he's a perfect fit. So when you combine this young talent with the fact that the Suns are now playing in a loaded Western Conference, you can see that the Suns have a clear direction here. They're going to let their young guys play and learn, and they're going to lose a lot of games, which means they're probably going
Well,
to get a top pick again
I don't
next
really know
year,
exactly how
and
old
it's
Bledsoe
starting
is,
to
though, now
look
I
like
think
that
about it.
after the Golden State Warriors dynasty is over
'Cause, I
in
mean,
3
if
to
he's,
5
like, what,
years, the Phoenix
33
Suns will
by the
have
time
a
that they're
real
good,
chance to make their mark as one of the
they'll have a real
NBA's
short window.
championship
Real short
contenders. Number 4. The Houston Rockets. Since the
Yeah, they
Rockets
won.
traded for Chris Paul, a lot of people have struggled with what that move is going to mean for Houston, which is understandable
That means
because both
two of the
Chris
most
Paul
elite
and
playmakers
James
in
Harden
the
have
NBA.
proven to be ball-dominant guards in recent years. When you play two
matter.
players who love to have the ball in their hands almost the entire game, there's definitely
matter.
a chance that things are not going to work out. So this trade
That's
is a
gonna work
risk,
out.
but with James Harden in his prime, you have to take that risk. You have to try and make your team better, and I think this trade will do just
they're gonna
that.
score
I think
damn
that
near
if
every
Golden
time.
State has some kind
Like,
of
they're gonna
injury
score even
next
more.
season, which is more than possible, I think the Rockets have now put themselves in a place where competing for an NBA championship is more than possible. Sure, Harden and Chris Paul have proven to be ball dominant in recent years, but they've also proven to be unselfish, high IQ basketball players, which is why I don't
High
think the
IQ
old
players.
"there's only one ball to go around" argument is really going to matter. For one thing, Chris Paul
Think
and
about
James
it.
Harden made this trade
If James
happen
Harden got
because
the
they
ball
want
first,
to
or
play
Chris Paul got
together.
the ball
They've
first,
said that. They found
and they can't make
success
nothing
together
happen in
as
the first
teammates
10
on Team
seconds,
USA, where
and they
not
gotta pass the ball up and they
coincidentally,
get double
their coach,
teamed,
Mike D'Antoni, was also on the staff, and both CP3
next man
and
can make
Harden
the
are
play.
determined to make this work because what they've been doing so far
Every
has
time.
not worked. We've seen it throughout his entire career with the Clippers. All season long, Chris Paul created a majority of his team's offense when he was on the court, and
Like, neither
this
of
has
the
led
two
to
can
him
carry
crawling into
the whole
playoffs
season having
on
the
his
ball in their
last
hand
leg. As for
all
Harden,
game, all
he
year,
finished this season as
like,
the
by
runner-up
themselves,
for MVP,
you know?
but was so
Like, they do real
tired at
good,
the end of his
but
playoff run that we
when it comes down to
questioned
the
if he had
end,
given up on the
it's just too
Rockets.
much for
So
him.
I
Like,
believe
it's too much for
both
one
of these
person to
guys
have the
when they
ball
say
all
they want
game.
a lesser load this season. What's more, with this trade, the
Now they got
Rockets
two
gave
of the
up
best
only
dudes
a
to
bunch
have the
of
ball in
role
their hand.
players to land a star point guard. Yes, Patrick Beverly was a monster on defense, but it was
Paul can
Chris
play defense
Paul
too.
who led the NBA in defensive plus-minus Giannis for the point guard position in the last 2 seasons. So I don't think the Rockets
he's an
are
even
going to
better
lose a step
point guard
on
defender.
defense at the point guard position.
At Beverly,
and since
he's
the
rougher,
Chris Paul
but
trade happened, they've also
more
added
physical,
2 more
but-
solid players in PJ Tucker and Nene. To me, this says that if Chris Paul and James Harden are able to share the ball successfully,
gonna be just fine
the
on
Rockets
defense.
have a very
Now,
good
rebounding.
chance to finish as the second
That's the
best
big
team
question.
in the Western Conference next year. Number
Chris
3,
Paul gonna have to box up.
Philadelphia 76ers. For years, we've been told to trust
Which
the
he can
process.
do.
Now, it appears that finally, the process is paying off. Next season, the Sixers will trot out Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid. Players who are all capable of not only being NBA All-Stars, they're all capable of being first-team All-NBA type players. With that said, of course, that's a big if. Embiid has played
There
in
we
just
go.
31
That's a
games
big
in his
if. That's
first
what I was
3
gonna
years
say.
in the NBA. Ben Simmons hasn't played a single game since he led LSU to a losing record, and Markelle Fultz's college team won 9 games last year. Many people have
Like, that
expressed
team is
concerns
all
with these
potential.
risks, but I'm more
Like,
optimistic
completely.
than most. There's a reason that Simmons and Fultz were unquestionably the top-ranked prospects in their
you know what
draft
potential means?
classes.
Potential
they have
means
the potential to be
ain't
legitimate
done nothing
NBA
yet.
stars. Simmons is near 7 foot tall, and he sees the floor like a point guard. He could very well be the next Giannis crossed with LeBron James. And when looking at Markelle Fultz play, I see a
Nah,
young
Giannis is gonna be-
right-handed
Giannis
James
is up
Harden.
next.
And as for Embiid,
Giannis.
well, if he can stay healthy, which again is a huge if, but if he can stay healthy, he will be the best center in the NBA.
The Bucks
I
ain't really
have
getting
no
nobody.
doubts about that.
Now
So
think about
we
it.
have 3 question marks here, and you have to believe that there's a good chance that the Sixers will hit on at least 2 of them. As for the rest of their summer, I love the additions of JJ Redick and Amir Johnson in free agency. Philadelphia has a legitimate chance to now become the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. So Sixers fans, congratulations, it looks like you made it. The process worked. Number 2, the Golden State Warriors. This
might
offseason,
tank
the
again.
Warriors were forced
You
to
never
pay
know.
up to keep Andre Iguodala, which meant they had to give him a 3-year, $48 million contract. This type of money should
I
have
wanna see
forced
who
the
number 1
Warriors
is.
to make tough decisions in the future in regards to Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, but it
Because,
doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Because
to
while
me, the
the
Warriors are
Warriors
number
went
1.
out and paid Iguodala, Kevin
As far as
Durant went
winning
and
this
took
offseason.
way less money than he could have.
'Cause they
This
kept
summer,
all their
KD
guys
went
and
signed
added
a
even
2-year,
more. They got
$53
Swaggy
million
P.
deal. That is a significant pay cut, as Durant could have made $9 million more per year. Instead, Kevin took less so that the Warriors would be able to keep their core intact, which to me is a sign of things to come. People have said that when looking at the future, there's no way that Golden State is going to be able to keep Durant, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Those guys are going to be too expensive, people have said.
Everybody
but
keeps saying, Klay might
unfortunately, I
leave.
can guarantee you that Kevin Durant's unselfishness is a sign
I mean, he
of
could.
things to come. The Warriors stars
could.
will all take less money if they have to stay together and win championships. So, when you add this to the fact that Golden State replaced Ian Clark and Matt Barnes with Nick Young, Omri Caspi, and Jordan Bell, again, I cannot see anyone competing with the Warriors for 3 seasons at least. And number 1, the Chicago Bulls. I saved this one for
Chicago.
last because people are going to
How are they
disagree with
number
me here.
1?
People are going to say that the Bulls should
What?
have gotten a lot more back for Jimmy Butler.
Maybe it's not
a
in
man
order.
who is
Maybe-
unquestionably a top 15 player in the NBA. But like I said in my video on the Jimmy Butler trade, if the Bulls could have gotten better value
know what?
for Jimmy,
It said the
they
7
would
winners.
have.
They didn't
What's
say on
more,
order.
we need to remember
Okay,
that in this
because-
current NBA, it is very, very unlikely that the Bulls were going to be able to acquire other stars that would have made them serious contenders with the Golden State Warriors. Actually, I'm just gonna scratch that. It was impossible. Looking at the rest of the talent
the
around
Warriors
the
were the-
league,
were the biggest
Bulls
winners.
were never even going to be a top 5 team with Jimmy Butler. So
By
Jimmy,
far.
I love you. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna root for you on the Timberwolves. But when I look at teams like the Clippers or the Jazz, teams that look like they're going to be stuck in no man's land for the next several seasons at least, I'm happy that at least the Bulls have a clear direction. Making the choice to do a full-on rebuild is always tough, but the Bulls made that decision. After the Bulls went and traded Jimmy, they didn't mess around with this rebuild. They didn't sign a free agent like George Hill. They even waived Rajon Rondo, which is going to give them a chance to play the young guys like Chris Dunn major minutes. That's going to help the Bulls' young players develop, and Chicago's front office will now be able to see what they have in those young guys. What's more, signing Felicio and Justin Holiday to reasonable contracts
play
are
Cameron
solid
Payne.
moves that give Chicago good young players that will be trade assets in the future. And so, just looking at what the Bulls did this offseason, they've given themselves a chance to build and compete 5 years down the road. After the Golden State Warriors dynasty is over, they can see if Zach LaVine has what it takes to grow
5
into
years,
an
it's
all-star.
over.
They can see if Lauri Markkanen can prove to be a deadly three-point shooter with all-star potential himself. And my
I don't know if I
favorite part
believe
of
in
all of
Lauri.
this, the Chicago Bulls
I
are
don't know.
going to get a top 5 pick next year. They're going to be in the Michael Porter Jr. sweepstakes.
I gotta see it to believe it first.
The Bulls gave themselves a chance at a real future, and that's saying a lot more than a lot of other teams this offseason.
Alright. So, I'm gonna end it there. That's that. Honestly, the only thing I disagree with is the Bulls being winners. Because I don't really feel like they are a winner from this offseason. But other than that, everything else is pretty much spot on. To me, the biggest winner is the Warriors. Because they kept everybody and they added to them. So, lucky Swaggy P, right? Go ahead and smack that like button. Hit subscribe. You know the rest.